I want to talk about the defense. We haven't talked at all about the defense. It's a weird day for the defense because, look, Baker Mayfield made some plays out there. And then Baker Mayfield, kind of like Jimmy Garoppolo, he'll make a few plays in a row, make you say, all right, I get why he's in the NFL. I totally get it. Then he's blocking Nick Bosa, and you say to yourself, geez, no wonder why his teammates like him. He's scrappy as hell. And, you even heard Moose Johnson say, Baker Mayfield plays quarterback like an offensive lineman. And that's just a great compliment to give to a guy. And it is. And then kind of like Jimmy Garoppolo, he lets like 3 or 4 or 5 balls go in a game where you're like, what was he looking at? Oh my God, that should have been a pick. I can't believe that wasn't a pick. Yesterday, the 49ers defense registered 11 pass deflections, which are the most the unit has registered since 2016. So I want to give an awful lot of credit to that secondary for playing very handsy, fighting at the point of the catch football without drawing a whole bunch of flags. Specifically, Mooney Ward, who, Larry, in the last few weeks was just like an automatic PI waiting to happen. He had a really good game yesterday. That secondary had a good game. And the fact when Talanoa Hufanga went out, it didn't change the prospects dramatically is a really good sign. You wanted to get to Ji'Ayir Brown? I'd like to get to Ji'Ayir Brown right here, right now, because he got caught flat-footed like his first play of the day, gets burned on the seam route. Then he's guarding Mike Evans in the end zone, breaking things up on 4th down. He ends the game with the consequential interception in the end zone to wrap it up right there. Even if Tampa had scored that, I still think the game's wrapped up. But it was a nice way to end the game for him. And I really like Talanoa Hufanga. Talanoa Hufanga's not having as good of a year this year as he had last year. Ji'Ayir Brown can play. I mean, I watched an awful lot of Penn State football when he was on the team, and he plays the run and the pass well. He's got ball skills. He can catch. I don't think that the step from Hufanga to Brown is a massive backward step. It's not a side. It's not linear. It's not exactly the same, but it's not a massive regression. And I think the 49ers are going to be able to play through Ji'Ayir Brown as this team starting safety and look an awful lot like a defense that can do things.
It was the most deceiving box score of the year for the Niners, I thought. Baker Mayfield was 8 of 10 for 80 yards at halftime. Now, 80% is 80%, but he 8 of 10. So he wound up in the second half. He finished 29 of 45. So do the math. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are their 2 top receivers. They combined yesterday for 11 catches for almost 80 yards.
They were essentially taken out of the game while they remained in the game.
But I mean, Godwin was shut out in the first half.
Right.
Evans had the 1 catch for 1 yard in the first half and the touchdown, the 1 yard touchdown grab. So, I mean, the Niner defense had 2 different modes, and it was kind of took me back to the Steeler game in week 1. The Niners beat the Steelers 30-7, but it was much more one-sided than that. The Niners beat Tampa Bay 27-14, but this was more one-sided than that. The 49ers played a bend but don't break defense, and they let off the gas pedal on defense in the second half, and they were content to allow Baker to throw 6 to 8 yard outs to Otten and Evans and Godwin and Jarrett and all these guys at will. I mean, basically just at will. And the coverage was tight. It was really tight, but Baker was threading the needle and making plays. The Niners lost. I mean, I don't know if it was by design, but they seemed content. They lost some of their urgency to really shut off their water. And let's give there's that old saying, those guys get paid too. Well, truer words have never been spoken. I mean, Evans and Godwin and Baker, I mean, these guys are pros, and they made a lot of plays. But at halftime, Chris Godwin, 0 catches, 0 yards. At halftime, Mike Evans, 1 catch for 1 yard. So the defense did a nice job, I thought, overall, I think these numbers are very, very deceiving. As far as Ji'Ayir Brown, I think, has the potential to be even better than Talanoa Hufanga. Now, Hufanga is really an instinctive player, very, very smart, very heady. There's some real, he lives for football. He told me last week in the locker room that he watched the film 5 times before Tuesday. You know, I mean, it was like, this guy just loves it, lives it, and he's the real deal. But Ji'Ayir Brown is a bigger hitter with better speed. And yesterday, Ji'Ayir Brown, in a short amount of time, 4 tackles, 2 solo, made a play in the end zone that was huge, had an interception, defended 3 passes. I mean, he is I love Ji'Ayir Brown in the draft. I was standing on the table cheering wildly when they took him. Why? Because to me, when you really hit home runs in the draft is when you can marry special athleticism with special collegiate production. And that's what that kid had. He was on the Bruce Feldman freaks list. He power cleans like 360 and he benches the whole weight room and the squats, everything. The guy's a freak of nature. He's one of the great athletes coming out of college football the last few years. And he picked off 16 passes or whatever it was in 3 seasons at Penn State. So he played at a great football powerhouse factory. He was well coached. He was productive as hell. He can play in the box or he can play down the field in coverage. And he's a workout warrior, freak of nature athlete. So
I got cousins who went, they're all Penn Staters. The dad, the boys, everyone went to Penn State. And they
love this kid.
Oh, they used to tell me, too bad he can't also be tight end. He might have the best hands on the team. We should play him both ways.
You should. Oh, and Damon, he was an all-state New Jersey basketball player who set the record in the state of New Jersey for steals. So what does that tell you about his break on the ball? I mean, what is stealing the basketball? It's a lot of times it's your vision, it's your anticipation, and it's your first step or two, right? That's what helps you get into the passing lanes and it's your desire and it's your preparation. This kid's got all of that. So, I mean, I interviewed him at minicamp and I thought, oh my God, this guy's not only is this guy the right guy on film, and the workout numbers are crazy. This guy lives for football. And then listening to him yesterday in the locker room talk to us, it's like, I said, how do you watch the film? Do you watch it with somebody? He's like, I always watch it with my coach, but I'll watch it with some of the veteran players. And then I go home and I watch it on my own. And it's like, wow. So he's special, man. He's a really, really great pick by Lynch and Peters. And I don't know that he's going to play like Hufanga, as far as his anticipation, efficiency. He's going to make some mistakes. But in some ways, they added a bigger, faster, more physical player than they had.
Well, it was a good day for a secondary. It was a day for a defense where bending, not breaking, was part of the theme of the afternoon. And look, there's some vulnerabilities when, the screen game popped in Jacksonville a little bit. Screen game popped a little bit for Baker Mayfield yesterday. The key to beating the Niners is to get into the second level on the edges. That is the clearly opposing offensive game plan. Get to the second level, but don't do it in the middle of the field where Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw are just taking dudes' heads off. You want to go and play on outside of the numbers and let your running game and your screen game pop out there.